welcome to Ticket2Reality. I'm Lee Swift. We have Ethan, who is from 15 Minutes of Marvel. Of course, the beautiful Emma, who's with us. And Agents of Fandom, TJ. And our special guest, Jack, from my season of The Circle. Jack, welcome.
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
We're doing great, man. We're talking reality stuff and want to know all about what's going on in your life. Tell me what's going on. I know you were saying before we started you're going to France, and what else have you done so far?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. There's two things I like to talk about. It's reality TV and myself, so it should be fun. But yeah, I'm still in school. I have one more semester, so wrapped up the school year a few weeks ago. Went on a celebratory trip with some friends to France, which was really nice, very relaxing. A lot of good food. Some fun nights out, a lot of crepes. Celebrated my birthday while I was there, 22nd birthday, which was nice. And then, now I'm in LA. I've been here about 2 weeks. I was here last summer. I'm here for this summer. Trying to pivot more into some acting and comedy stuff. So hopefully I don't suck at that. And then just kind of getting the lay of the land, but it's been really good so far. Obviously would love to still do more reality TV, but it's a fickle world, so I'm just I have a bunch of classes that I'm taking coming up for like some acting stuff, some improv stuff, and I'm just going to see where that takes me. So I'm excited to see how the summer goes.
Let me ask you, because we asked, I think we asked Delisa and Trevor Squid Games. Are you going to audition for it?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely down. I hit up some of my contacts. They encouraged me to apply and everything. I mean, there's 456 spots. I'm hoping they can throw one my way. If they don't, I might be a little bitter. I might have to switch over to Hulu. So I don't
know. There you go.
Jack, if you get in, if you make this show, do you think you have a shot at winning? Or where's the confidence, man?
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a lot of people. I was thinking about that. I think I cover a lot of the bases that you kind of need. I'm decently athletic. Feel like I think if the reality Squid Game, I think it's going to take a lot of good social maneuvering.
Sound like a prospect trying to get drafted into a sports league right now. Like, what team do you want to get picked by? Well, I'm going to be happy wherever I go. I bring the fundamentals.
I'm like that. Yeah, I'm like the random white dude in the NBA draft, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's sneaky athletic, team player,
quick, coach's son."
Yeah, very coachable. But yeah, the Squid Game thing I think would be a lot of fun. And then obviously it's mostly comes down to the challenges, but I think there's a lot of social and politicking elements in there. So it would be a cool experience if that worked out.
I think we get enough Circle people and form an alliance. I know they'd be gunning for us, but that's to me the ticket. To win.
You guys as long as there's no makeup challenges.
To reality. If you
no makeup challenges.
Watch them add that to the new season.
Jack, another thing I'm curious about, you mentioned some acting classes and things like that you're going to be trying out. We when we talked to Delisa as well, she mentioned on the podcast that was something she was doing, were some acting classes. How do you think being on The Circle, being on screen in front of that many people, how do you think that sort of prepared you for this road into acting?
Yeah, it's a good question. I did improv in high school. I did some school plays and things growing up here and there. So I was always sort of interested in that. Obviously, getting on screen, for real, I think farthered that interest. But I think it's just now I don't think most reality people might not be acclimated to acting and vice versa. But I think there is something to be said about having that comfort on screen to an extent, and just, of course, The Circle was very real. So for the most part, I was just being myself. But you also know when you're in there, certain things you need to play up, or certain moments that you might emphasize for entertainment. And I think that is a skill that could be applied to the acting realm as well. So really don't have a lot of experience with that, but I'm like, hey, I'm not doing much else this summer. I might as well see how it goes, and maybe at worst case, make some connections, make some friends, and learn a few things. So,
well, you were on The Floor Is Lava with Savannah and Courtney, so it's not just The Circle in your rep. Well, how was that? Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, definitely not a career changer, but no, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was. We actually filmed that all the way back in like last August or September, so that was a long time ago. Wow. And it almost felt like a fever dream, and it was just tucked away in the back of my mind. And I was studying for finals. I was like, oh wait, this comes out tonight. Like that's kind of funny. But yeah, it was a super fun experience. I mean, growing up, always loved like game shows on like Nickelodeon or Disney Channel or things like that. So to be able to go out and just do it, even though we did terrible, it was like a good experience overall. Obviously, I wish we had been a little more successful, but can't really complain getting a second chance to be on something on Netflix, even though it was a solid 4 minutes of screen time. But
did you guys have the show Uh-Oh as kids, or is that strictly a Canada thing?
I think that
I haven't heard of that.
Sound familiar.
It was a weird kids like similar like challenge athletic and mind challenge type game show where they had the host's name. I like look this up. It's bonkers. I thought this was a fever dream until I talked to other people and was like, no, this actually happened. The host's name was Wink Yahoo, and the only other adult there was like nicknamed the Punisher, and he was wearing like full leather clothing, including like a leather mask. And when people got like answers wrong, they'd just dump like large amounts of colored goop on them. It was like the weirdest thing ever, and I wanted to be on this show so bad as a little kid. Like I thought it was just like the coolest thing ever. But Jack, another thing I'll say is like when you get on like the shows like that, they look so much easier on TV than they actually are. When I went to Thailand with some friends a few years ago, we went to an American Ninja Warrior course that they had there. And it was so hard. Like, to be fair, we were also just like a month into like traveling and eating all the food and drinking. And so we weren't exactly in our most trained athletic states, but that stuff's hard. It's way harder than it looks.
Yeah,
definitely. I think the biggest thing for me with that was like every surface, because the lava liquid, like they had it bubbling up and exploding, it got on every surface of the course. And so you couldn't get, if you were trying to jump, you couldn't take like a running start because you're just going to slip and fall on your face. So if you land, you got to like use your whole body to land. If you're jumping, you have to like station yourself and really just do it all in one motion. Because if you try to like run or like anything, you're just going to like, when I fell, I made it on the platform. I like overshot it. So I just slipped right off the front. And that was definitely the most unexpected part of that thing.
As a big New Girl fan myself, we played True American for my 29th birthday last night, and the floor was also lava. So
how do you do that? Because I've always wanted to play True American. Like, are there rules? How do you do that in real life? Because
I thought they explained the rules on the podcast. I know they have a podcast, and I think they've gone into details on their show. Yeah.
Okay, I gotta
listen to it. We called it True Canadian because we adjusted some things, and we basically just did like. We made like a few set of like 3 or 4 rules, but you were also basically just like allowed to cheat unless somebody catches you, and then if somebody catches you, you just got to drink, stuff like that. It was awesome.
Seems fair.
That's fun. Yeah.
Jack, can I ask you a would you rather question really quick? Because you mentioned game shows, you've been on a few things, and reality TV, Survivor and The Amazing Race. Those are like the 2 big ones. Is there one that you would rather do? Like if you were given the opportunity, would you rather do one of those shows as opposed to the other?
Oh, yeah. And I think Lee knows what I'm about to say, but I'm a huge Survivor fan.
Okay,
I've actually been applying to Survivor since I was 18. I've been like a diehard fan of Survivor since I was like 13. And so that's honestly my one true love. So I would do anything to go on Survivor. I think that would be awesome. Amazing Race is cool. Don't know if I would do it. I don't know if that's like my main vibe, but Big Brother is also super cool. I think I really enjoy doing like Big Brother.
And you've met some people from those shows, Survivor in particular. You know someone before he even got on the show.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of your friends in
reality
TV.
I had done a few like Survivor charity events, not sponsored by Survivor, but like independent sort of mini Survivor games, like to benefit charity. Prior to that, and a few of them had like other Survivor players. So through that, I was able to make a few friends. I actually do a Survivor podcast with Bryce Isaiah and Wendell Holland from Cagayan and Ghost Island, respectively. Purple Pants podcast, check it out.
Okay.
But yeah, so I'm very ingrained in the Survivor community. And then in my fraternity, my little, who's like my like pledge son, I guess you call it. He was going through the Survivor application process at the same time I was going through the Circle application process. So he actually ended up on Survivor like a couple months after I filmed the Circle. So that was super, super cool to follow along with. And he did a great job, Xander. But yeah, it's weird how that was a crazy coincidence, because there's very few college kids these days on reality TV. So the fact that like 2 of the 4 of 2021 were like me and my close friend was pretty crazy.
Wild.
That's really
Love
cool.
to have you and Bryson on, do some cross-pollinating, because I love Survivor. You and I love Survivor and stuff, and Big
Organize
Brother.
some games, have some little podcast versus podcast challenges.
Yeah,
Oh,
there
yeah.
you go. There you go. I love that. I love that.
Awesome. So you say
Emma,
that,
you got it.
yeah.
You talked about the makeup thing.
Oh,
What else
yep.
did you think about Jack's 2 characters he got to play?
Yeah, so I actually did have a question. So you kind of started off in your like intro package and everything, like, I'm going to play the game, like, I don't, no emotion kind of thing. Did that change at any point for you as you started to make connections? Did there reach a point where you were like, maybe I'll think with my heart a little bit more?
I got a mixed answer for this. Thinking with my heart, not really.
Okay.
The thing is, in the Circle, something that surprised me was how little sort of strategic opportunity there was, just kind of on a day-to-day basis, because the conversations are limited. So it's like, if I want to hatch some sort of plan and I can only talk to Lee every 5 days, like by the time I come around and talk to him again, everything's going to be different. And so really the only way you can make moves is through being an influencer. And obviously you have to play a good social game to sort of earn that. But the only way you can have like a direct impact on the game is by blocking someone. And then, I was an influencer one time, and you also have to deal with compromising with the other person. So for me, when I was an influencer, I don't know if you guys remember the big Terralicia and Savannah conflict.
Yes.
I wanted to keep
Do
both
I
of them in the
ever?
game because I
Yes,
knew
we
they
remember.
would continue to go at each other and provide like a buffer for me.
Yeah.
But immediately
Oh,
Chloe
that's smart.
kind of protected everybody else in the game and was like, oh, but between Savannah and Terralicia, you could pick. And I was like, ugh. And then after that, I wasn't
Classic
an influencer
Chloe.
again. So yeah. And I didn't, this wasn't even shown, but like I said, I like wanted to block Savannah for strategic reasons. I like Savannah more, but I thought because Terralicia was like a messier player, it would be smarter to keep her around. And even then, Chloe was like, "Are you sure, babes?" And I'm like, at this point, like, I don't know what you
That was
want me to
good,
do.
Chloe.
Like, I was able to talk her into agreeing, but I'm like, you can't just save everybody and then be like, "Oh, but you could confirm that the last person available is the block." Like, this is not.
Right.
I need my rights as a woman in this game. But
Absolutely.
and then yeah, if I was an influencer again, I'd absolutely would be willing to be cutthroat. But the thing is, it's a game of popularity. So if you're stabbing someone in the back, it implies that they trust you, and having people that trust you is the most important thing in the game. So really, the best strategy is to get rid of people that don't have your best interest in mind. So that's not really backstabbing. Is kind of how I look at the Circle. And it was a little frustrating because I wanted to be a little more devious, but
Right.
You want to be a season 4 Alex.
Yeah, exactly.
well, so I don't know. I actually was friends with Alex before either of us were on the Circle, so I recommended him for season 4. So he and I,
Cool.
actually at the beginning of COVID, so his brother is a good friend of mine, and we were roommates last summer. But we go back. Actually, met through one of those charity Survivor things I did, and I visited his brother during spring break, right like March 2020, right as COVID was sort of on the rise, and his friends got COVID. So we, back at this point, we we're like, oh, if you've even like spoken to someone who had COVID, like you're screwed. So we all quarantined with his brother. So there was like a 2-week period, over a year before I was on the Circle, where we were just locked up watching Survivor for 2 weeks. So Alex and I had a lot of strategic talk. So we think about the game very similarly, actually. So it's funny that you made that
Interesting.
comparison because we're good friends.
Wow, what a
That's
small
awesome.
world.
That's
That's
so
great.
cool to hear. And it's so awesome to hear just like different perspectives from different people who go on the show. And Something we barely talked about is that Savannah Terralisha situation from season 2, and I feel like I want your inside scoop on that. On the pod,
I know we all have thoughts, but I want to hear from like like you were in it. I want to hear your guys' perspective for sure.
The other thing though is just like that you brought up Chloe there, and obviously she's been on Too Hot to Handle and then on The Circle, and I'm sure is doing all kinds of other similar things in the industry now. And it's so funny how like and I don't think this is necessarily an act, but it's definitely exaggerated on the shows that she's on. Like they like to make it seem like she's got a very low IQ. And when they say the things like, when she says the thing like, I don't think England and America have ever gone to war before. On season 2 there, and it's so like
funny.
Maybe her IQ isn't the highest, but that girl's got a damn high EQ. She is like she knows how to handle the social situation. She knows how to keep her hands clean. She knows how to play the game. She's good at it.
Absolutely.
Nobody targeted her. Think about that. Nobody was ever targeting Chloe. I mean, maybe passing moments, but she had everybody kind of in her circle. It was amazing. You know, I think she's smarter than people give her credit for. Personally,
definitely.
Yeah. I mean, even outside of discussing like the game, I think when she's on TV, she knows to play up sort of the ditzy role. But when I've spoken with her outside of the game, she's a lot more aware than I think people. Like she's someone you could have a really solid conversation about your life goals and things with, and like philosophical things. So she might not be the most book smart, but she definitely has a lot of intelligence beyond that.
Yeah, honestly, I would love to sit and have a conversation with her. She just seemed so personable and someone that I would love to sit and talk with about life and just everything. So,
well, one of the chats
she wanted to call me babe.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. One of the chats Courtney and I had, which didn't get screened. I mean, we got deep in the weeds about all kinds of stuff, and you know, yes, there's the depth to her that doesn't, you know, it's not necessary for her public persona, but she definitely is an interesting young woman.
In a game situation, it's better for her to like have that going on, right? It's like it's not even an act if like certain book smart aspects aren't there, and you can just play that up like, I don't know these things. Whereas obviously I'm very good at and very intelligent with these other things, but I don't know these ones, and it makes other people let their guard down and not kind of fear your game when in the meantime you're doing all the things perfectly. So it's a good strategy she's got going.
Jack, do you know, was there maybe like a moment or two that that you were involved with that kind of stuck with you that never ended up getting screened? Because you mentioned one earlier, Lee. You mentioned like you and Courtney ended up talking pretty deep stuff. I assume there's a ton of stuff that just like gets cut and doesn't make the final thing. Was there anything that stuck with you where you're like, oh shit, like they did not air that? That's kind of crazy.
I mean, it's been so long, but just off the top, and this is very relevant, I don't think they showed it, but my first private conversation in the game was with River, obviously played by Lee, and I felt like we locked down a really good relationship off the bat. I
agree.
And that bond that we had, you know, it started with just some good social bonding and then pivoted into, you know, like, hey, I got your back, like vice versa. And I felt like that initial connection really lasted for a while throughout the game, in the sense that I felt like, you know, I had River's best interest in mind, and I felt like River was looking out for me, which was somewhat true. And when Lee first became an influencer, I know Courtney sort of wanted me out, but Lee, you know, kept me around in favor of Terralisha. Yeah. But it's so hard because that's another thing about the strategy is like, okay, when I first have this conversation with River, I'm like, I feel good about River. So now I'm not going to keep doubling back and just like, because if I really trust River, but that's my only connection, I'm not going to go very far in the game. So now I need to be like, well, what about all these other people I need to talk to? And a lot of times it's like, hey, this is the person I have the worst connection with, so let me talk to them. But it's like, you already have a bad connection, that might not actually do a whole lot. So like, that's like one of the reasons where when we first got in the game, I was like, hey, my character, Emily, I think would get along the best with Savannah. And I felt that sort of mutual chemistry just through like the group chats. So I was like, hey, I don't think Savannah's going to block me if she's an influencer. So I'm not going to bother talking to her now because I feel like there's already that chemistry. But then 6 days go by and you're like, oh, I haven't talked to Savannah. Maybe, I guess we're not that close now because we haven't talked to any games. So then it's like, oh, maybe I should have just locked that down initially and really gotten a strong ally. I think that's the hard part about the circle, and you really have to balance your relationships. And you like sometimes you'll want to talk to somebody and you have to wait a little while because they might be someone that a lot of people want to talk to, and so if given the limited nature of the conversations on a daily basis, you can't always get everything right when you want it. So sometimes, like, there was a period of time where I think Courtney was the last person I really talked to in the game. I don't think I talked to him until like day 5 or 6, but I have been wanting to talk to him from like day 2 or 3. And so because I wasn't able to talk with him, that's why I sort of wanted to target him. And I think inverse was true where he targeted Emily. And I think that's a lot just because we hadn't talked. Like if we had talked the first day, we probably would have been close allies. So it's just the funny part of how the circle, it's like frustrating in some ways, but also very interesting in others because you really have to balance how you use your conversation.
I think that's one of the things that made the circle such a big hit right off the bat is that's life when the pandemic started, right? Like you don't have access to everyone. You're not seeing them every day at work anymore. Your only access to people is that limited window through social media. Maybe you get some type of private conversation in a Zoom meetup. Maybe it's a group thing where you're all playing a game together. But that's your socialization when the pandemic began. And so I think it's pretty cool that they found a way to kind of use that metaphor of pandemic life and turn it into a reality show that it's like, we brought this up on the pod multiple times since we began. But the other thing I love about the circle is just like in every single reality TV show, and obviously there's tons of stuff off screen as well. That's been like referenced a lot when we talk, but in every reality TV show, nobody looks cool in their intro. It's like, it seems like reality TV show intros, they like go out of their way to make the audience be like, this person sucks. The example I always love using is Joey from season 1. I'm watching it and I'm like, that guy's a douche. And then 2 episodes in, I'm like, I would die for him. And I think that it's done a really good job of like, the circle just did a great job of combining like, you sometimes if you don't go out of your way to reach out to this person in the window that specifically works, you're going to lose that connection because you don't have that everyday socialization anymore.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said, I think the circle especially is like when we did those intro interviews, we didn't know that we were guaranteed. We didn't know that we had a place on the show. So when I was like, we were out there and they flew out, 20 people and they only used 11 of us. That's not like an exact number, but you don't know. And you also don't know if you're going to be in the first 8, if you're going to come in later. So when you're doing that, that's like basically the last part of your audition process. So if they tell you to say something that is kind of feeds into their image of you, but doesn't really line up with what you actually want to say, like I was going to say it because I'm not going to be like, no, I'm not going to say that because if I don't give them what they want, you're just not going to get on. So I just hammed it up during that and really amplified everything that I felt like they had valued from me during my audition process. And I didn't love the way that I came across in it. Obviously I said some I didn't say anything bad, but I was like, I'm going to go down as the biggest villain ever. Like I knew I wasn't going to play exactly like that, but that's what they wanted from me to all of casting. So of course I'm going to say that. And then once I get in the circle, I'm like, okay, I'm here. There's not really anything they can do. Like I'm just going to do whatever I want. But no, it's funny that you noticed that because I think I agree just in pretty much any reality TV intro, but it's like, as far as I know with the circle, that's the one where you don't even know if you're in. So you really have to ham it up.
I was thinking about the strategy and like you said, the limited number of conversations. I think going forward, and season 4 kind of had some of this, when you have the group chats, you got to be pretty strategic. And I think that's a place, tell me if you agree or not, Jack, where you can kind of send a message to somebody in the group chat because you may, like you were saying, Savannah, it'd been a while since you talked to her. Hey, you could just do a little nod to her to say, I still got you, girl. Mm-hmm. And it kind of shows your cards a little bit, but I think it's necessary because of the limitations. What do you think?
No, I definitely agree. I mean, I think if I was able to talk to anybody anytime I wanted, I think I might have dominated the game just because I I would have consistently been able to tell people what they want to hear, been able to implement more moves. But when it's limited like that, like you said, Lee, there's so much balance that you have to have. And yeah, and that's one thing if there's anything I would change or recommend strategy wise, I know you mentioned group chats as in like the main, like the circle chats, but as far as group chats go, where it's like you and 2 other people or you and 3 other people.
That's true.
I did not do enough of those smaller group chats. And I think those are so important to really locking in a group that you guys all mutually are like, okay, well, let's go to the end together. I really focus on those individual relationships and making sure I was never anybody's like top target, which sort of worked until I blew up my game. But I think to really see yourself at the top of the rankings, you need to have like 1 or 2 like alliance groups rather than a bunch of individual connections. And I really didn't have any strong alliance groups during my time in the game. And like you said with Savannah, it was shown in the show, but one thing that really, I guess my irritation with it per se wasn't shown when after Terralisha like saved me in the first one after the first ratings, and Savannah saved Trevor. I remember Chloe came to me via the chat and was like super frustrated that Savannah had saved a guy instead of the girl gang, like the rest of the girls, and I was like, okay. And then Chloe's like, so why don't we bring Savannah on in here so I can confront her? And I was like, no, I don't want to be a part of this. Like, I was like, the way it's gonna look is that I'm on Chloe's side. Savannah's gonna think I'm like coming for her, and then my first time talking to Savannah is just gonna be like Chloe's wingman being like, why did you do what you did? And I just felt like that was so confrontational. I think it was handled with a little more tact than I expected from Chloe at the time in the game, but it was still like, why is my conversation the second day of the game focused around Chloe's tension with someone else? Like that's not what I wanted from my conversation, but sometimes you just get stuck in those situations. And yeah, that's like the only chat I had with Savannah in the game was about like, oh, why didn't you save Trevor? And then I remember that specific conversation. I tried to like really play both sides and like, because I think with anything this is how I am in real life too. It wasn't just me trying to be like passive player or whatever. Is like there's always 2 sides to every argument. So Savannah's logic as to why she didn't save Chloe made a lot of sense. So in that chat, I was like, honestly, Savannah makes sense, but I didn't want to be like, at this point, like Chloe was my closest connection in the game. So I was going to be like, Chloe, you're wrong. So I was like, hey, like I see both sides of this. Like, let's just stick together. And I remember Chloe being like, oh, like, this is bollocks, Emily. Like, you're sitting on the fence, love. And I was just like, whatever. And then 1 minute later, Chloe is just like, and I remember Chloe was like, oh, Emily's spineless. She won't say what she thinks. And then a minute later, Chloe's like, Savannah, I love you, babes. And then to the camera, she's like, fuck Savannah. And I'm like, this is so hypocritical right now. Like, you're calling me out for playing the game, and then you play the game too. But yeah, that was like a really weird conversation that I remember.
It was great television, I will say.
Yeah,
that was great television.
That chat from watching it.
And I remember a lot of people on like online or whatever were like, oh, like Emily's game isn't that great because they're just like playing both sides. And I'm like, okay, but based on the first impression ratings, I was in 7th, and then I went up to 2nd right after that because I felt like, if I appease everybody, I might not look like the most trustworthy person, but no one's ever going to have a reason to be like, we got to get Emily out. Because if I have them thinking I'm enough on their side, I'm never going to be anybody's target. And I would much rather in the circle be nobody's target than have like half of the house really on my side and half of the house really against me, because some random week, those people on the other side of the house are going to gain power and be like, okay, we need to take out the face of the other alliance, which I didn't want to be. So that was sort of my logic with playing both sides. Obviously, I could have been a little more opinionated, but also combining like my playing both sides with the fact that I had to talk through the lens of a sorority girl made it all that much harder. So
you talk about like your personal strategy. I'm just curious because you were the only one in the season that ended up with somebody else and having to like tag team as John. And so it was you and Lisa. How does your personal strategy play into that? Because I feel like when you're in this situation, now you have to play the game and you have to worry about other people, but you also have to play the game with Lisa, and you have to figure out how you work and how your dynamic is as a duo in order to have something that's representable in the circle. Can you just like talk about that for a second and what your experience was like working with somebody in the circle?
Yeah. I think it just started out on such a good foot because we were like, we get to see someone for the first time in like 3 weeks, and we get a second chance in the game. So off the bat, it's like, oh, we're playing with house money, like we're feeling good. And also Lisa was just a great partner to have because in the best way, like she was very like adaptable. Like when she was playing Lance, she didn't really have like a set strategy. And so when I came in with all my strategic ideas, she really valued those ideas and kind of let me take the wheel, and was able to like fill in the gaps here and there. So sometimes I'd be like, oh, I don't know how we want to phrase this like sentence or whatever. And she'd come in and be like, well, what if we say this? And it really just flowed super naturally. And she didn't really have a problem sort of letting me, I guess, guide the ship. But, and some people seem to like question that, but it's like, okay, if you have put two super strong personalities or two people with like very different views of how the game should be played together, like, yeah, it might be a little more strategic, but they're going to butt heads. And it's also, I think a very underrated part of playing as a tag team is that like, if you have two people with different ideas that are like switching off who's guiding the ship, the way that the catfish is going to come across is going to be more scattered, like more dimensions to their personality. It's going to be less believable. So I feel like by kind of, like letting me like drive, I guess, steer the ship a little bit, and she would come in and like different bits and pieces as like a support, I felt like was a pretty good strategy. And honestly, I think as John, we did a really good job. Like I think we did about as good as we could have. Nobody was suspicious of us. Obviously coming late into the game, it was going to be hard to win, but I felt like if it was a season that, people rated really strategically, being that sort of fifth wheel to two different duos at the final five, I felt like we had a really good chance to win. If the ratings went down strategically. Obviously they didn't go super strategically, so we lost, rightfully so, but I had my hopes. It was funny. This is like a tidbit that obviously didn't make the show. We were, when we did the final ratings, we were discussing like, hey, I basically like game theoried it out in my notebook and was like, okay, this is what I think needs to happen. I was like, there's two duos. There's River and Courtney, and there's Trevor and Chloe. If they both rate each other number one, and they recognize that the other duos are going to do that, they're going to rate the people from the other duos 3 and 4. And so John would naturally be like everybody's number 2, in which case we would win. So I was like, we got to hope that's what happens. So I was like, we have a chance. And then we go to the final like round table meetup, and I could tell pretty quickly that everyone like voted kind of more with their hearts. I remember Lee was just like, man, I wanted to vote strategically, but I just loved you guys so much. And I was like, oh, shit. And then we're walking out of there. To go to
I wanted to link up with this guy. Like, that's the love I need in my life. That's why I wanted a partnership.
Exactly. But then we're walking out of the room to go to the finale part. And Lisa like taps me on the shoulder. She's like, I think we have a chance. And I'm like, we have no chance. Like, we're yeah. So that was pretty funny.
So I'm happy we got to talk about how the strategy differed from Emily to John. And I know you're a competitive guy as well. And something we like to do on the Ticket to Reality podcast is play a little game with our guests and then kind of tell them the twist afterwards, a little reality show style. And so our first two guests on the podcast, we had Delisa first, and we had Trevor second. And so what we did with the two of them is we each kind of started out we made a catfish profile with them that they kind of, since they both think they're the best catfishes around, the best catfish around, right? And so we're going to have Instagram polls where people vote on whose profile was better. And the twist was they didn't know they were going to be competing. And so I have some questions for you. And if Ethan, Emma, we have some questions, feel free to fire them in as well. And we'll tell you the twist after. But what's your ideal first date?
Oh, ideal first date? Maybe we hit the mini golf course, casual mini golf. I've been seeing there's some more like older person mini golf courses now, like with bar, like there's like a bar and everything. I would love to check one of those out. And then just honestly go out for drinks. I enjoy a good drink. And so just get some drinks, and then maybe things are clicking and we just go to the bar. Maybe it's a Friday night. We go out with some friends and just get along. I'll be honest with you, I don't go on a lot of dates. So this answer will probably be hopefully better tailored by the end of the summer, the end of the year. But hey, mini golf and drinks with a beautiful girl, that would be a lot of fun. So
I was hoping to like joke around and make fun of you a little bit, but my literal first date with my fiance was mini golf.
let's go.
You can't go wrong with
I'm
mini golf,
spot on.
honestly.
Spot on, man.
It's fun.
Spot
It's a
on.
little, it's like, it's
fun.
competitive and it's a game, and
Yeah.
I love to compete, but it's not like super competitive where I'm going to be like an asshole. I'm just going to be like, it's the type of
That's
competition
my
where you can, like,
thoughts
joke
exactly.
around and poke fun at people, but you're not going to be like tackling
Hurting
them
any
over it, you
feelings.
know?
Yeah.
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 For sure.
All right, favorite mixed drink.
I'm going Long Island iced tea, like a psycho.
Nice.
That's a powerful choice,
Yeah, that is-
honestly.
It's a lot of nights go south after a couple long. Here's the thing.
Oh yeah.
And
I-
there
I
was no
don't-
hesitation.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Especially after the circle, when I feel like I've had a little bit more attention, I guess, on like I'm at the point where I don't want to be like the drunkest person in the room and to have like a clip of me sent to TMZ or something. So I take it a little lighter at the pre-games now. And I'm also I feel like sometimes I'm like the dad figure where I want to make sure all my friends are having a good time. So I like to get my friends boozed up, and then we go to the bar. It's expensive there. I'm pretty sober because it takes a lot. I'm a big guy. It takes a lot to get me, buzzed. So I get to the bar. I'm pretty sober. I'm like, okay, what's the best bang for my buck? A Long Island iced tea, because there's like 3-4 shots in there. It's only a couple bucks more than a vodka Red Bull. So that's really my logic there. The funny thing is sometimes I'll be ordering them, and I'll have friends that are a little lighter weight, and they'll be like, I'll just take one of those too. 10 minutes later, they're just lights on, no one's home, and I'm like, oh god.
Oh man. Okay, I got another favorite for you. It's not drink related, but favorite ice cream topping.
Ooh, that's
Topping.
good.
Ooh. I don't even
Not
eat a
flavor.
lot
It's
of
got to be
ice-
topping. What are you putting on top
got
of the
you.
ice cream?
I don't even eat a whole lot of ice cream. I'll go like Oreos, like crushed up
Wow,
Oreos.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
really good answer.
Favorite movie?
So, favorite movie is good.
Favorite movie? I'll just go The Wolf of Wall Street, but not in the type of way that I idolize Jordan Belfort, if that makes sense.
Banger pick.
I feel like a lot of other frat kids are like, Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort's like the coolest person alive. And I'm like, no, he's actually kind of a dick. But it's a good film.
We gotta talk Wolf of Wall Street off air, Jack. That's money.
Got it.
I have a poster right behind me. It's not hanging up, but it's down. I'm a fan.
It's
as well.
there.
No.
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, favorite 90s or 2000s Nickelodeon show? The TJ's sweatshirt kind of sparked that question.
I think was Legends of the Hidden Temple on Nickelodeon.
Oh, that sounds
Or
familiar.
was that
No
Cartoon?
legends.
Ooh,
I think
that's
it
a good
was.
question, actually.
I'll throw out like an honorable mention, like iCarly was always solid.
Okay, yep.
Have you
Little
been watching the new
Victorious.
iCarly show on Paramount Plus?
I have not.
It's really
I've
good.
not.
I recommend
is
it,
it?
honestly. Yeah,
Okay,
I
I
actually
might check
really
it out.
enjoyed it. Yeah.
My understanding of it is it's basically the iCarly version of what the Lizzie McGuire show was supposed to be, where it's like they were going to do the Lizzie McGuire remake, and Hilary Duff was like, all right, well, if she's going to be an adult, she's going to act like an adult. Like she's going to go on dates, and she's probably going to be with people and stuff like that. And they were like, no, we're not doing that. And my understanding is, I only watched the pilot, but my understanding is that kind of is what iCarly is. It's it's just these characters as adults now.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
And it's some of the
I'll
same
check that out.
hijinks. Spencer's still really funny, honestly. Like I still was laughing just like I, did when I watched the original show, and it was kind of cool to see them grow up.
Yeah, that's
so
cool,
highly recommend.
That's cool.
Okay, sweet.
And let's do a nod to Agents of Fandom and 15 Minutes of Marvel. Who is if you were one of the superheroes in the MCU, who would you be?
Okay. This is good. I hate to say it. I know this is not the audience, but I don't watch a lot of like superhero stuff. So I don't know if I have like a super well informed answer. I'd actually like to hear if you guys, what you guys might think. I just, of all the superhero movies I've seen, I really like Batman. So I'll go Batman. But can't really relate to Batman because he's like rich and his parents are there and my parents are here and I'm poor.
I mean, not that part.
So it's kind of like an opposite thing. But he's just a cool dude.
Yeah.
You feel like a Thor guy to me.
Yeah, I could see Thor.
Really?
I see Thor. I get Thor vibes out of him big time. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I was going to say Spider-Man, but maybe I'm just projecting. Maybe I just want other people to like Spider-Man as much as I do.
That's fair.
I feel like if I had to relate to a superhero on like a personality level, I'd go more like Spider-Man.
Yeah, I can see like kind of quippy, and I can see that. Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't really like spiders, so.
Yeah, that's my thing. I love Spider-Man and I hate spiders. So honestly, every time I watch like the original Sam Raimi films when they show like him getting bit by the spider, I have to look away from those parts because I'm not a fan of spiders.
But Spider-Man's a good one. Other than Spider-Man and Batman, I really haven't seen a whole lot. But I respect Batman because he doesn't have any superpowers. He just fucks you up the old-fashioned way. So
exactly,
I think that's pretty cool.
You'd probably like Daredevil. I would recommend watching Daredevil. I mean, he does have some.
I agree. Actually,
powers,
it's like
he beats the shit out of people, and it's great.
And it's one of your least like superhero shows. Like it's pretty dark. It's more of like a legal drama with a lot of action as opposed to a superhero show. It's pretty dope.
Oh, that's cool. But I like how a lot of the superhero genres have been like. I haven't really watched them, but from what I've heard, they'll be like darker. There's more flawed characters. There's more like drama. It's a little more like psychological. I think that's pretty a cool part of the because it used to just be like, oh, Superman, he's like strong and flies around and he's like perfect, and now it's like a little bit more tongue in cheek.
So I assume you're a big fan of the Batman. Then you like Robert Pattinson and the new Matt Reeves take on the movie.
Yet. I haven't watched
Jack, you're killing me, man.
I don't watch a lot of movies. I don't really. I've actually. Is it out of
long,
theaters yet?
That.
Is it out of theaters?
Yeah, I think it's.
I'll send you. How about this? I'll send you my digital code that came with my physical copy that I bought, and then you can watch it.
Okay, that would be good. I don't like going to the movie theater, so I kind of wait till everything comes out like on streaming services. So that is like definitely on my list. And because I'm trying to do acting stuff, I'm trying to get a little bit more well versed in the film world too.
Sure.
That actually sparks a question. Who would you say is like your kind of go-to inspiration in acting? Like any famous actors or anyone really?
I'm trying to think.
You're in comedy. You want to get into comedy too. So like, who are your comedians and like actors you think are funny?
Comedians. I like just for like stand-up stuff. I like Sam Morrill, Andrew Schultz, John Mulaney. A lot of those. I like Anthony Jeselnik, although some of his recent stuff I don't like as much. But his like original one, I forget what it's called, but I thought that was hilarious. So just like dark humor. I really like Pete Davidson, like just from a broad standpoint. Like I'd love to do everything he's doing. He's so multi-talented. Like I'd love to sort of be able to recreate what he's doing. Like SNL stuff is so awesome, but he's also a talented actor, good stand-up. Beyond that, like general acting, I like Evan Peters is great. I like, like for comedy, like Jonah Hill, Michael Cera. They're all, Will Ferrell, obviously. Just a lot of good actors out there.
I just have one final like question for you, Jack. It's personal. Acting adjacent. Does anybody ever tell you look like Nicholas Braun, cousin Greg from Succession? You get that, right?
No, I get that. So before I did The Circle, I didn't even know who Nicholas Braun was. Okay. And then one of the producers on The Circle was like, you kind of look like Nicholas Braun. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I've never gotten that before. And then after the circle came out, I get this comparison all the time now. So I think partly it's because I look a little older now. And I mean, he's a lot older than I am, and my hair's gotten longer and everything. But I also think maybe sometimes people like see me and recognize me from the circle, but don't know that it's from the circle. So they're like, oh, that's Nicholas Braun. Like, and then obviously there's like
say yes. Also.
I'd be like, yeah,
Wait,
totally.
You bet.
wait, let me grab my computer charger real quick.
Okay.
Wait, sorry.
Oh,
I don't
this
know if
is
you guys
classic.
like
This is
yeah,
classic Emily.
Classic Emily. Perfect time to kind of wrap up that, like, we're recording this on a Friday, July 1st. Our plans are to, as you'll be hearing this, it'll be at the earliest July 4th, Monday, Independence Day, as we're dropping this, and socials will be all clear. Ticket to Reality is finally becoming a reality, y'all.
Yay.
Right.
I'm
right.
sorry, I didn't want my computer to die on y'all. But it's funny with the Nicholas Braun thing. The other day, it's also interesting because I also get recognized as me sometimes. So it's like now half the time someone comes up to me, it's like, do they know that I'm me or do they think I'm Nicholas Braun? I was at a bar the other day and this girl came up to me and she's like, "Are you Nicholas Braun?" And I was like, I'm so sorry to say, like, I'm not. I take it as the highest form of compliment because he's awesome. And she was like, "Are you just saying that you're not so I won't freak out?" And she like gave me a wink, and I was like, "No, I'm not." And she's like, "I don't believe you." And I was like, "I guess I could like prove it to you. I don't really know what you want me to do. Like, I don't really have that much skin in the game here, but it's a little weird that you're like so pressed about this." So I like showed her my Instagram. I was like, "This is my page. Like, notice that my name is not Nicholas Braun." And she's like, "That could just be a fake profile that you have to like show people when they ask."
Damn.
And I was like,
I mean,
"Okay,
at
here's
that
my
point-
ID.
Well,
like, you can
on
see
that
my
note,
ID. My
let me
name
tell
is."
you,
You should have
that was your segue, man. That was your segue to just be like, "Oh, fake profile, haha, funny you should ask." I was on the show.
Well, sometimes I'll hit people with that too. I was like, "No, I'm not," but I was on a different show. I'm like, I don't care. But I showed her my ID, and I was like, "If this doesn't prove it to you, like, I don't really know it will." And she's like, "Okay, Nicholas, like, I see your game," and I'm like, "I really don't." And she's like, "If it really
That's
isn't
awesome.
you, I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'm sorry for bothering you, but I think you're lying to me." And I was like,
Oh my
why would Nicholas Braun have a fake ID of some random kid with a different name? I'm like,
You got to go full Succession mode this Halloween. You got to go Cousin Greg. You get the haircut, you get the suit, you play it off, and that's your one day, and you really lean into it, man.
I think I'll have to. Yeah. The thing is, I don't really know what a Cousin Greg, like, I would just be in a suit and everything, but yeah, it would be cool to do. I guess I'd have to get the haircut a little bit and really go for it. I almost went as his character from Sky High last year, but
incredible!
Wow.
Good choice.
Yeah, I didn't
good.
end up doing it because it was the costume didn't come together right, but that would have been funny.
Well, Jack, Emily, John, thank you so much for being part of this. You know what I think of you. You're amazing, incredible.
Thank you.
We need to get on the phone and do some talk. Just chat. We haven't chatted in a while, so let's do that.
At the,
And keep
who
your,
else you say for? Were you at the season 4 rap party, Lee?
I didn't come to the rap party. Did you make it?
No, I didn't.
Nah. But you've met some of them, haven't you? Have you met some of the season 4 cast?
Not really, actually. I've talked with a few of them, but it's like as the community grows, it's harder and harder to have like a close relationship with everyone. So I try to find a few from each new season that I really gel with, that I feel like could be like a lasting relationship, because I don't want to just like. I mean, of course, I'd love to have like a solid relationship with everybody, but it's harder now.
Yeah.
We're all so busy. I don't want to just establish I don't want to put so much effort into like surface level things. But not to say that like, other people, like, it just would be for me. So I've talked a lot with like John from season 4, because he also does like stand up stuff. So he's given some good wisdom with that. Obviously, Alex, who I'm friends with. Yeah. So they had a great season though. It was a great group of people, and the season was really solid. So.
I thought they were amazing, and I look forward to the Circle Cruise, and we all go on the cruise for free. Come on, Netflix pay, and then we can really connect. That's what we should do.
If you're banking on Netflix and paying people things, it's probably not going to happen. But.
I'd get involved with Disney and do the Disney Wish or whatever that new Disney cruise
Yeah,
is.
the
I'd see it
Disney
all over
cruises they
Twitter.
got going are having some fun exclusive Marvel content.
The
on
like
it, but-
$5,000 Star Wars drink or something. I'm
Yeah.
like, all right.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
hey, Long Island iced tea,
Yeah,
Disney Wish. I'm there with
Jack
Jack.
would,
Let's
if
Sounds
go.
Jack
good
won
to
the
me.
circle, he'd be paying $5K for a nice Long Island iced tea.
Absolutely.
Hell
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sure.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. All right,
Maybe-
guys. Thanks for.
Jack,
go ahead, go
keep your eyes peeled to the Ticket to Reality socials as we launch over the next week, because
Of
we're going to
course.
be asking our followers if your answers were more Emily or more John.
See, I was just about to ask you what the twist of that was. Yeah, I feel like they were all pretty Emily. I don't know. I'm just thinking Long Island iced tea. I know John's like more of
That
a
sounds.
Paloma guy. I think.
A whiskey
I can see
neat.
that. I can see
I
that.
could see like an
Yeah.
old fashioned or something like that.
Yeah, old
That's
fashioned.
right. That's right.
There you go.
But yeah,
That's
thanks
right.
for having me on, guys. I'm
Thanks
excited.
so
you're
much
amazing.
for
It's dope that you
joining.
guys
Amazing.
have all these sweet guests coming in too, and it should be it'll be a good way to launch this whole thing off.
Absolutely.
And I'm serious about you and Bryson coming on sometime to talk Survivor. That would be
Yeah.
fun.